Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your Winter Storm Mabel forecast here, and Winter Storm Mabel is currently, has recently been named, and is currently trotting through parts of the Southwest and moving up through parts of the Ozarks, Midwest, Great Lakes, and into parts of the Northeast, where it will be delivering some pretty good snowfall, pretty decent accumulation, and on the backside you will have some very cold air that's going to be, setting up, and you will also have some severe weather that does look to actually set up here over parts of the south. So we will have really three different parts of the system. We have the snow, we have the severe weather, and we have that Arctic cold air that's going to be unleashed, all because of the system. So it is a very big system, and it is imperative that you do watch the entire video. So make sure that you do have all the information. And we're going to be going over the European model as well as my personal snowfall and rainfall forecast at the end of the video. So let's start off here. We have a very busy National Weather Service. As you see, winter storm warnings currently starting to erode away over parts of New Mexico here. Kind of not so many as we had yesterday. Winter storm warnings covered pretty much the entire state yesterday. Now just for the central and southern portions of the state, winter weather advisories stretching all the way from New Mexico, Texas through upstate New York. So a very long band, and this is all because of winter storm Mabel up here. This is mainly just blowing snow right here. Blizzard warnings, those are because of the blowing snows. The reduced visibility is expected because you do have blowing snow. So if you do live in those areas, western Minnesota and into parts of the Dakotas, beware. It's mainly, you're not going to have any more really snow accumulation. It's really just going to be because of those very strong winds whipping around that snowfall. We also have wind chill warnings and wind chill advisories over parts of Iowa in preparedness for this very cold air that's going to be shooting down from parts of the northern parts of Canada, our first real Arctic attack of the season. And we also have flood watches up for parts on the southern side of the system, so for parts of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys and down through into parts of the south central and southeastern United States. So here's your current National Weather Service surface analysis map, and you do see we have a low pressure system currently over parts of New Mexico. But if we kind of move this around a little bit, you see we do have actually quite a bit of low pressure systems dotted across. We have one stronger low pressure system dotted over here in parts of northern Mexico and into parts of Texas. We have this long cold front here dotted across and moving through parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and it has already passed Texas. 50s and 40s to the north, 70s to the south, and this continues all the way up until you hit about northern Georgia. Then we get a warm front, and that's where you get all that warm air, and that also could help with some of the severe weather. Now, moving up to Canada, you see we have these very cold temperature readings. We have temperature readings, and we have this very cold Arctic high pressure system that's getting ready to make its way down to the south. We have temperature readings in the negative 30s, 40s, 20s, so very cold air here that's bottled up in the northern portions of Canada, and it has been kind of bottled up here for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 months. It's just been bottled up here. You've had that polar vortex bottled up, and it's really had no chance to escape. And finally, we have this 1 to 2 day period where you're going to get some cold air, but it's really just going to last for a little bit. So we're going to be talking about that as we get into tomorrow's video. So not really going to be talking about it in today's video. Tomorrow's video, I will be covering that, so make sure you are staying tuned on the channel. So here's your current storm prediction center as far as severe weather. We have a slight risk in effect for about 8.5 million people over parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, through parts of Tennessee. Now, for tornado risk, you do have about 2% risk in that green, covering about 15 million people, and 3.5 million people under that 5% risk there in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where you do have that increased risk as you do get into that warm sector of the system. As you get into this would be for tomorrow, which would be Wednesday. So we also have a wind threat here, 15% chance. So not really going to be the biggest in terms of wind threat. You could have some isolated damage on your on some of your property, but really nothing can be too substantial here, and less than 5% for all areas as right now as far as hail. So really, just gonna be those tornado that's gonna really be their big risk here over Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and we could see also some wind reports of wind damage there. So let's get into your simulated radar off the European model. We have some rain moving through much of parts of the eastern United States, and that's ahead of this system. Snow right here. This is your system. That's snow in New Mexico and into Arizona. Now, this would be currently pretty much what's happening right now. It's fizzling out over parts of the Southwest and Four Corners, but it is going to be re-strengthening as you get into your Wednesday morning, and you see a lot of that snow starting to move over the Kansas, Missouri area, where you are going to see that strengthening of this low pressure system. It's able to pull in that Gulf moisture that's really helping enhance this system here out of the south, and really that is going to allow a lot of fuel to kick in for some of that snowfall to set up over parts of the northern and eastern United States. So as we continue this, heavier bands start to move in. This is just one model's perspective on what's going to happen. So of course we're going to have some changing in this, and there's this very narrow band of 6 inches that looks to set up somewhere over the Ohio, northern Indiana, northern Illinois area, where you could have 6 inches of snowfall somewhere in there, but the models have really been changing that around. So right now it looks like a 3 to 6 inch event for most northern New England and northern upstate New York could see over 6 inches widespread, but we'll get more into that as we get into your snowfall forecast later on in the video. Snowfall starting to break out over parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes, getting into your Wednesday night, and now into Thursday morning, we're seeing that over parts of the Northeast starting to get into some snow. Boston, Portland, Maine, you could start off as some snowfall, but really doesn't look, it's going to be some very wet snowflakes overnight, so you won't really even notice that it's snowing, and also it's going to wash away by daybreak. You're still snowing over parts of northern New England, northern upstate New York on Thursday, and Thursday afternoon really starting to depart. You had that severe weather roll through parts of the south, and you see the remains of that as you get into your Thursday afternoon, and then Thursday night really wrapping up, and you get some lake effect banding on the back side of this. So here's your total ice accumulation out of this event, because you will have a little bit of ice, mainly only here for the Northeast, where you have some over Ohio, Pennsylvania, really in those valleys where some cold air, because the cold air actually likes to sink. So I'll give you a little diagram here. So let's say this is your mountain right here. This is your mountain. This is your valley. Cold air wants to sink because it is denser than that warm air. So as you get that cold air to sink, you have all that warm air that's being pushed up aloft, and you actually get that rain to freeze on contact on that surface, so you do get actually some precipitation there that is in the form of some ice. So that's how freezing rain is formed, and that's why you see it in mainly these valleyed regions, or these really sheltered regions from mountains. So really that's why you see really all bouncing all around with all that ice accumulation. It's really, if you live in a valley that's in somewhere like Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and into West Virginia, Maryland, you could see a little bit of ice. But other than that, not too much ice out of this event. Now, here's the total snowfall, and I said again, this very narrow band of snowfall. Yesterday, the European was indicating this somewhere more around this area. It's shifted a little bit further south. This is something that's going to continue to happen just until we get to this event. So right now, don't count on getting 6 inches, but definitely definitely prepare for getting 6 inches, but don't count on it, because it probably won't happen. It's going to move to the north, it's going to move to the south, so where it ends up at the end is really going to be a very narrow band, maybe 50 or so miles in width, and that's going to move north and south and east and west. So really that's something that the models are going to sort out overnight, and we'll probably have a better idea as we get into tomorrow. Here's your northeast view of the system. You see more widespread 6 inches as you get into upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, especially the coastal areas. You'll get a little bit more snowfall than those interior areas where you're farther away from that low pressure system, and you just get some lighter snowfall. So Here's my personal forecast as far as storm track, rainfall, and snowfall here, and this is going to show you pretty much how much snowfall and rainfall I'm expecting, and it'll give you a good idea of what the system is going to set up like. So your storm track is going to move through parts of Texas, Arkansas, through really the intersection of Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee, and then move through through parts of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, into West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and then through parts of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts before heading off to sea. Again, you're going to see that heavier snowfall on just on the northern side of this system. So we have a under an inch area. This is mainly just a coating, dusting, so really nothing too problematic. If you're just in this light blue area, or almost a white or a gray over parts of the southwest, moving through parts of the Ozarks and into parts of the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast. We also have a 1 to 3 inch area over parts of New Mexico, Texas, even into Oklahoma here, and this is really wrapping up snowfall. Just mainly 1 to 2 inches left to come. Potentially some mountaintops could get 3 to 4 inches, but that's very elevation dependent. We also have that 1 to 3 inch area set up for the Midwest, Great Lakes, and into the interior Northeast. 3 to 6 inches here, moving through parts of northern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and through southern Michigan, and into parts of northernmost Pennsylvania, northern upstate New York, and northern New Hampshire and Vermont, as well as most of Maine, except for the southern extreme portion of Maine. And then we even have that 6 to 12 inch area through that band in parts of northern New England and upstate New York, where I do think you're going to get probably 6 to 9, 10 inches at the most. Couple areas, especially if you live in the higher elevations in parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, you could pick up 6 inches, even if I put you under that 3 to 6 inch area. But that's really only the higher elevations. But for a widespread lower elevation accumulation, 6 to 12 inches looks likely over parts of northern upstate New York, northernmost Vermont, northernmost New Hampshire, and into the central portions of Maine. Now here's your total rainfall accumulation forecast here. Under an inch of rainfall expected over parts of the south central and southeastern United States and moving through parts of the coastal northeast. 1 to 2 inches of rainfall here expected as you get west of the Appalachians and into parts of the deep south, where I am expecting 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, especially as that low pressure tracks through. You're going to get that heavy surge of warm, moist air that's going to be infected northward, and you're going to see that 1 to 2 inch area really set up. Notice how that goes through parts just along that storm track. You're seeing that pretty heavy rainfall. So definitely as you get more energy with the system, you're going to see some heavier bands of precipitation, and this is what's to come. You still have a lot more that is going to come that has already fallen, and you have a lot more that's still going to fall in a couple of events that are going to happen in just a couple of days after this event. So really no break in between these events for parts of the deep south. 2 to 3 inches even here for parts of northern Louisiana, northern Texas, southern Oklahoma, southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, all seeing 2 to 3 inches of rainfall expected, and even a couple areas could get 3 or 4 inches in isolated squall lines that could move through that area. And definitely 1 to 2 inches, you still could pick up 2 or 3 inches if you get an embedded thunderstorm in there. And I think the best chance of overperforming as far as rainfall would be really in this area right here, where I do think you have the best chance of getting a decent thunderstorm to set up, and that could really raise your rainfall totals quite a bit for this storm. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap the video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.